Hey everybody, in this episode we are going over the 7 key ideas from Company of One by Paul Jarvis. And if you haven't seen it already, Paul Jarvis and I did a great full-length interview. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link to that down in the description, along with a link to Paul's book, Company of One, Why Staying Small is the Next Big Thing for Business. The first key idea from this book is to question growth. If you can do this one thing, that will set you apart in business because growth is the default mindset in business. Everybody wants to think about making more money, more staff, more scale, and that is how people are pushing, but they're often missing the bigger questions. Paul explains questioning growth better than anyone else. So for this one, I'm going to cut to a clip where Paul explains how a company of one really works.
It's not that I'm saying that growth is bad, because I actually think that growth is super, super beneficial in some ways and at some points. But I think if we put growth above all else, then we end up in a place that we may not want. I think Edward Abbey said it in 1978 that growth for the sake of growth is the ideology of a cancer cell. I don't want to have a cancer business, right? Like it just doesn't make sense. So I think and this is I think where the problem lies. And I should have written more about this in the book. I touched on this point, but not enough, which is why I'm bringing it up now. So I think that in the beginning, we need growth. And when we have growth, we see that it's good and beneficial and working. And we're like, okay, I've gone from zero to some customers, zero to some revenue, zero to some audience that I'm reaching. This growth thing's pretty awesome. It's like, this is good. This is working. I have revenue. I have customers. And I think in that case, yeah, 100%. It is the best thing that can happen when you're starting out, is to grow to a point where you can build sustainability, right? But I think the problem is if we never question that, we just keep going. Like if a thought never enters our mind that like maybe I have enough, or maybe my business has enough, or maybe my business is more sustainable at its current level, or maybe my business is more profitable at this level than if I reach for more, then we don't ever challenge it, right? Because it worked. We started and it worked. So I think the point of the book is to just think about like, is this working or not? And if it's not working, that's cool. And you can do so many other things. Not focusing on growth doesn't mean that there's stagnation or stasis. If only business was that easy, it would be pretty awesome, but it's not the case, definitely.
Key idea number 2 is that you can be too small to fail. Instead of trying to be huge and having the company that's too big to fail, if you can have a company that's actually too small to fail, that runs very simply with very low overhead, you can have a huge advantage and stay in business for a long time. For example, if you say have a business with only you as the employee and you just have a few $100s in expenses and then you pay yourself a salary and the total comes out to $2,000 a month between the expenses and what you pay yourself, that means all you have to make is $2,000 a month. So if you say have 4 clients, you charge each one of them $500 a month, you have just paid yourself. You work for 1 client per week, 4 weeks, $500 each, $2,000 covers all of your expenses. And with a business like this, with very low overhead, it's really hard to kill a business like that. You can stay in business for a long time. And if you enjoy what you do, this is the ideal. You have a business that is too small to fail. Key idea number 3 is the branding power of a very small business. Small businesses have intimate stories that people can get attached to. I run into this all the time. I'll be out and I'll be wearing these shoes that I've got. I'm holding them up right now for anybody who's watching on video. These are my running sandals, and I'll be wearing these around, and people always want to ask me about them. And I can show them to people, I can take them off, and I can tell them about the company, I can tell them about how I heard about the running sandals. There's a whole story to it that comes, that things like that don't happen with generic products that you get from Amazon Basics and these big box type chains. So if you are running a small business, leverage this, use this to your advantage. Let people know about the story. Let people know about the intimate detail of what makes your small business unique, And then you have a branding power that will then actually, ironically, spread. People will tell people that story because that's what humans do with stories. We share them. So give people that story, and you might actually accidentally grow bigger by taking advantage of this aspect of your small business. Key idea number 4 is to focus on getting better, not bigger. We are obsessed with having bigger businesses, with having more scale, more employees, more offices. But if you can become obsessed with other things, you can make your business better. You can become obsessed with the quality of your product. You can become obsessed with the quality of your customer service. Or you can become obsessed with things that just make you happy. There's a story in the book of a guy who Paul knows who's an accountant who sets an annual revenue goal, and as soon as he hits that goal, even if it's the middle of the summer, he takes the rest of the year off and goes rock climbing. Think about how much drive you would have if you were going to give yourself more time off as a reward for hitting your goals, rather than just constantly pursuing bigger, which never ends. If you're always pursuing bigger, there is never a sense that you have hit enough. There is never a sense that you are done. There's never a sense of even taking a break. There is never a sense of enough. So instead, give yourself some sort of line, some sense of enough, or some goal that's not size related, something about the quality of the product, something about the way that your company interacts with the people internal and the way that your teams function. These obsessions are so much more valuable when you think about being better rather than bigger. Key idea number 5 is trust. People trust small businesses. And that's why big brands will buy up small businesses and then keep them looking small. So big beer companies own little microbreweries. Even Colgate owns Tom's of Maine toothpaste, which I've got in my hand right here. I actually use. I'm from Maine. But it's owned by Colgate, but it still looks like a small company. This is the value of the trust that these small brands have that the big brands want to leverage. They want to use this to their advantage by buying up these companies. And we know this. It's very human. You feel more trust in something that you buy when you go to the local farmer's market and you shake hands with the person who made the product than you would if you bought it at Walmart. So take advantage of the fact that you're not running some sort of faceless bureaucracy, that you are a small business, and use that to build trust with people and keep them coming back and build a relationship. Key idea number 6 is the minimum viable profit. This is thinking about just how much money do you need to actually be profitable, because when you're running a small business or a company of one, as Paul calls it, you don't need to go through some sort of huge debt-fueled runway where you're taking on venture capital and you keep trying to get more money flowing in all the time just to keep the wheels on. Instead, you can just think about how much do I need to be profitable. So maybe you're someone who does marketing work at a big agency and you think, I'd like to have my own business. And then you start to think, okay, what would I need? What could I do? What could I sell? Okay, I could sell online courses about marketing. But then you recognize that there are lots of expenses that come with that. You need people to handle video distribution. You need to put it up online. You need some sort of way to sell it. Maybe you need advertisements to even get it to the right people. Instead, what's the first thing I could do to be profitable if I were to quit my marketing agency and work for myself? You could consult. If you could land one big client before you quit your job, one that can cover all of your expenses, you could be profitable on day one, and your expenses could be very small. If it's just you working alone, your expenses might only be your computer, your internet connection, and maybe a little bit of transit to get to and from clients. But other than that, you could work out of your kitchen, and you don't have much overhead, and that one client could be enough that you are running a profitable business on day one. That is freedom. If you want to quit your job, that is a clear path, and that is the power of the minimum viable profit. The final key idea number 7, is to stop throwing growth at the problem. When people have problems in business, so often the instinct is to try and make things bigger. If there is a huge flow of customer support questions coming in all the time, and it seems like people have a long wait time just getting an answer from customer support, then the assumption is, okay, we need more customer support staff. We need to hire 2 or 10 or 20 more customer support people, and we're going to scale out the customer support problem. But in fact, the reason that people may be calling in and looking for those answers is actually because there's something wrong in the product. If instead of focusing on getting bigger, you focus on making the product better, then you can avoid those problems and you can have a higher quality business in the long run. This may be the biggest of all of the key ideas from this book. Whatever kind of business you run, if you can start to look at problems and see things in terms of trying to get better rather than just bigger, you will go far. For more insights on why staying small is the next big thing for business, check out Company of One by Paul Jarvis. Check out our interview. There's a link to that down in the description, and I'll catch you next time.